No matter your age or where you live, it is almost intrinsic that you have heard of Leonardo da Vinci. Whether you know him by the Mona Lisa, his eccentric attitude, or his revolutionary artistic prowess, he is seen as more of an icon rather than man. But instead of just being a paradigm of the Renaissance in early Europe, he played a much larger role in the daily lives of the people. Through his art, inventions, and scientific excellence, he modeled and formed the image of the Renaissance lifestyle. Da Vinci was born on April 15, 1452 in Tuscany, Italy, by a well-respected Florentine notary, Ser Piero, and a peasant woman by the name of Caterina. By the age of 14, he had started an apprenticeship with the artist Andrea di Cione, or commonly known as Verrocchio. After immersing himself to the various aspects of media and science, he began his trailblazing in the artistic world. Pen in hand, he created one of his first innovations, a drawing of the Arno Valley in rich detail with no human figures in sight, which was unheard of at the time. His techniques, both in science and art, were a foundation of his genius. Da Vinci's works were highly detailed and anatomically correct. The study and depictions of human hands is often the hardest to get right, even for contemporary artists. Da Vinci, through his extensive dissections of cadavers, learned the fundamentals on how the body works and expressed them with accurate attention to detail and realistic lighting. His three-hand sketch in the Royal Library at Windsor Castle is a good example of this, and dates the study of the anatomy back to around 1474. These were not solely beneficial for the world of art, but for the world of science as well. In a time where rituals and harmful practices dominated the medical world, Da Vinci's works allowed people to view their own bodies in a new perspective, one that mirrors the way we still do today.
As Da Vinci mastered his technique for painting and drawing, he flourished in the world of art. From 1492 to 1498, Da Vinci created arguably one of his most crowning masterpieces, known as The Last Supper. Almost as famous as the Mona Lisa, this painting still echoes in modern society and is instantly recognizable. The scene depicts Jesus Christ before his crucifixion and the meal with the apostles. Commissioned by Ludovico Forza, who was the Duke of Milan, Da Vinci used oils instead of the traditional usage of frescoes. Linear perspective, a method based in mathematics, was used to emphasize Jesus Christ and his importance by placing him center of the horizon line. This piece of art resonated with people due to the rise of Christianity fused with humanism. Instantly a hit and a masterpiece, this painting has seen its own share of history. Controversial restoration processes, Allied bombing at Milan during World War II, and harsh conditions all were met over the years, but just like Da Vinci's legacy, it graced past and endured after centuries. Another piece of his work, Lady with an Ermine, 1490, saw Da Vinci painting a portrait of a 16-year-old Cecilia Gallerani while under service of the Duke. This piece, unlike The Last Supper, was not a focus of a religious scene, but rather that of a single person. Instead of embellishing and exaggerating, this piece is almost somber and calm. His usage of composition gives the woman an almost three-dimensional figure and has gradual tonal changes around the eyes and mouth. She casts her gaze onto something else, off in the distance and out of the frame, rather than looking straight ahead like most portraits. Most notably, the artist even left his fingerprints in the painting itself. Some would say that there is a deep meaning in something so trivial as that. For some, it shows that he is not a god or a myth, but rather a simple man, and a working one at that. This serves in conjunction with the Renaissance idea about focusing on man itself, and many can find representation of this through these paintings.
Wherever Leonardo da Vinci is mentioned, the Mona Lisa is sure to follow. Arguably his most famous artwork, and additionally the most famous artwork in history, this piece is something that accumulated through years of practice of art and science. The Mona Lisa is actually a portrait of Lisa Gadarini, who was in a wealthy silk merchant family in Florence. Supposedly painted in 1503 to 1506, this piece strikes similarity to the Virgin Mary. Her posture, hand placement, and slight smirk expression evoke that of a faithful yet mysterious housewife. Artists such as Raphael used similar painting styles based on this work. Rather than just observing the beauty of the piece, this is one of the first to actually make the viewer think deeply. Rather than having a subtle answer, this one almost has no definitive one. Is she smiling or not? Where exactly is she, and why is she there? Questions such as that are still being debated to this day, all created from a single portrait. Although his paintings are most recognizable, Da Vinci was much more than just a scientist or a painter. He was an inventor, and used his extensive knowledge of math and architecture to create things that would still look alien to us today. Using physics-based pulleys and cranks and complicated gear systems, he created a multitude of blueprints for inventions. From simple architectural schematics to flying machines, fighter tanks, weapons of war, and siege defenses, many of his inventions were left unfinished due to his chronic procrastination he was known for. Akin to Einstein, Da Vinci had worries that his more lethal inventions could pose a threat if they were used in the wrong hands or for the wrong intentions. Although not every one of his inventions worked, like the flying machine or helicopter, some of his other works hold up to this day and have been a reference and source for many of our modern technologies. He broke out of the mold of just a simple painter and instead became a well-rounded and adept individual, and likely the first and foremost Renaissance man. Da Vinci was not just an artist that rose in popularity posthumously, but instead a man that paved the way for the Renaissance and its people. For the people of the Renaissance, his artwork brought inspiration. His scientific breakthroughs merged art, math to increase exposure, and his inventions created a new dimension to the once two-dimensional world. In a time where art was the most used medium of communication, Leonardo da Vinci used that to change the perception of the world. From then on, the world is not seen as a perfect disaster, but rather an imperfect masterpiece.